Hi everyone, my name is Erin. Welcome back to my channel. It is quite early in the morning and it is quite rainy outside, but I wanted to get started on this sort of duology of videos that I'm going to be doing. I am actively trying to cull my shelves of books that I'm just not going to read, so I created a maybe pile of about 10 books that, could fall either way, but the only way I'm really going to know is if I try them. So this is sort of a try a chapter or try a little bit and see if I'm gonna unhaul or keep these books. I did a very big cull of my shelves. I don't know really if I'm gonna do like an unhaul video. These books aren't really serving me anymore, so I just think it's best to kind of put them aside, and that way I can get rid of them when the time comes and I'm able to. So I have a stack here. I'm just gonna go through them and then I'm gonna read a little bit and I'll come back and I'll see. And then there will be a part 2 of this video with 5 other books that I'm not really sure about. So the first is Wizard of the Crow by Ngugi wa Thiong'o. This is like an African fantasy. I purchased this quite a while ago now. Last year, I heard Al from Big Al Books talk so highly of it, and it was like 2 days later I ended up going to a used bookstore, and this was like the first book that caught my eye, and I thought it was Fate. But I still haven't read it yet, and I was informed that thinking it's Fate is not necessarily a reason to pick up a book. I also am not really into African fantasy. I know that it's difficult to go on one book that you've read, whether it's for you or not. And I've read Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James recently, but this is about a fictional free republic. And then there's a number of people who are battling for control over this place. And it says that fashioning the stories of the powerful and the ordinary into a dazzling mosaic, Ngugi wa Thiong'o reveals humanity in all its surprising intricacies. So, I mean, it might be for me. It all really just depends on the readability. This is a huge book, over 700 pages. So if I can't get into it quite quickly, then I'm probably not going to enjoy it. So I think I'll give this one, between 30 and 50 pages, just so I can get an idea of the writing before I give up. Next is Tell My Horse, Voodoo and Life in Haiti and Jamaica. This is nonfiction by Zora Neale Hurston. I picked this up after reading Their Eyes Were Watching God and absolutely just loving that story so much. But like I said, this is nonfiction. And this was originally written in 1938, but this copy was published in 1990. So this is quite old. I think it has the potential to be interesting, but again, I'm just not sure, just because I love Zora Neale Hurston's fictional voice doesn't mean I will jive with her nonfiction writing. The next book is one that my partner's mom gave me. She has a habit of just dropping off books that she really liked or thinks I'll like, and I love that. I feel very special that she thinks of me as she's reading. But that means that there's been quite a few that I haven't really enjoyed or don't really have interest in reading. So I generally try to pass those along. But there are 2 on this list. One will be in another video, but this one, the one that I chose for this, is The Circle by Dave Eggers. This is one of her favorite books that she's read recently. It follows a woman who is starting a job at this like all-powerful internet company, and I guess she quickly realizes that things are a bit more bleak than she anticipates. I know it was a movie, but every time I talk to my partner's mother, she mentions how this book is making her see a part of the world differently, so I would love to try. Next is another book that I'm probably going to have to give a little bit more time to, because I don't think that I will just fall into the writing. I think I'll have to give myself a bit of time, and that's The House of the Dead by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I am not really good at reading classics. I know that that's something that happens over time once you're used to reading quite a few and you're used to the language and things like that. So that's why I'll probably have to give this a bit more time. I'm a bit nervous because, hello, the font is very small and there's lots of text per page. But this is sort of a fictionalized memoir. This is originally published in 85. Anyway, this is like a fictionalized version of something that actually happened. So Fyodor Dostoevsky was convicted of being part of a political conspiracy, and so he spent time in like a remote Siberian prison. And this is a bit of like an embellished maybe story of what that was like. So I'm interested and I really want to like this. So I'm going to give it a bit more of a try. Because as I said, I'm not very good at reading classics. And then another book that's on the maybe pile is a book that I bought this year, which isn't good when I think about how I want to be better at spending my money and buying books that I'm actually going to read. And the fact that it's on the maybe pile tells me that if I kept it on my TBR, I probably wouldn't get to it. When my TBR was 75, I probably wouldn't get to it for a while. The only thing going for it is that it's an author that I've read before and it's quite short. And that's Inside by Alex Oline. I read Dual Citizen when it was shortlisted for the Giller Prize last year. Another one of her books that was on the shortlist is Inside. This is the story of a woman who is a therapist and she realizes that she's falling in love with a patient, and it's kind of the story of will she, won't she do the right thing. And I love Alex Oline's writing. I don't think that will be a problem. I just think that I need to decide if this is a story that I want to read. And the only way I'm going to do that is if I try it. So I am going to spend the morning reading these books, and I will get back to you on my decision. My hope is that of the 10, maybe I can narrow it down to keeping just 5. That would be really good. But if I'm so enthralled by all of these books once I start reading them and I keep them all, that's not so bad, is it? That's the point of this, is to determine if these books are books that I'll actually read. So I'm going to go read, and I will talk to you soon. Hi everyone. Okay, so I'm back. It's significantly lighter outside, which is good. My hair is down because I've stopped reading, and I have the results of these 5 books. And I'm quite surprised, I think, about how easy it was to narrow it down. There's just one book that I had quite a bit of trouble with. But I think, and maybe you feel this as well, like when you actually sit down to start reading a book, it's kind of obvious from the beginning if it's going to be for you or not. So I will start with, I guess I'll just start with a book. Wizard of the Crow is a book that I only got to page 28, but I have decided that I'm going to keep it for now. So the opening is just so great, okay? So we have the leader who's been the leader of the Aboria republic, a Borean republic, for as long as anybody can remember. He got this mysterious illness and he has died. And so the opening is a look at sort of the top five sort of conspiracy-like theories as to how he got this illness, because he's been a ruler for so long. And there's sort of like these folky, like, conspiracy theories, as you know, with like magic and with sort of severe consequence to what he does, and it gives you a really visceral idea of the type of leader that he is, which is a really interesting way to write that. So I really enjoyed it. I have a bit of hesitation with keeping it because it's so big. This is over 700 pages, you know, almost closer to the 800 page mark, and I'm a little bit intimidated by it. But now that I've started reading it and I know the language is not that difficult, this is translated by the author himself. And it was actually only published in in 2006. So it's a lot more recent than for some reason I thought it was. So that's cool. So this is one that I'm gonna keep. Then we have Inside by Alex Oline, and I picked this up this year because I really liked Dual Citizen by Alex Oline, and I've had this weird sort of fascination with getting Giller Prize shortlisted or winners or longlisted books, and it's kind of come to bite me a little bit, because though I like Alex Oline's writing, I don't know that this is a story that I really want to follow. It opens up with a woman who is a therapist skiing down a hill, and she falls over this man and his body, and she hurts herself, but she's kind of looking at him, and you know, he couldn't have crashed into anything. His skis are set up on the side of the ski hill, so he didn't fall. And then she realizes that attached to him is a rope and a branch. So she figures out that this guy tried to commit suicide, and he's alive, so she calls for help, and she makes it like her duty to stand by him. So, you know, she's not sure of where his family is, so she stays with him in the hospital. And, you know, he spends a little bit of time telling her that he doesn't need her help. She doesn't listen to him and sort of inserts herself as important in his life because she's going to help him. Now, when you read the synopsis and it sounds like a woman falls in love with someone who is a patient, I don't know if any of you have seen the show In Treatment, but it's basically this show where we have a therapist, and each season there's like 5, it's fictional, there's 5 sort of patients that he's seeing, and we walk through them sort of going through therapy, and we see sort of the implications of his life on how he is a therapist, whether he's good at his job or not. And I thought maybe it would be a little bit like that, and potentially that's where it goes. But just the idea that she just sort of inserts herself as a therapist in his life within the first 20 pages was really just like not what I was here for. So sadly, even though I just bought this, I'm gonna let it go because it's probably just gonna make me mad. Another book that I just read a little bit of is The Circle by Dave Eggers. I'm gonna pass this on to you. I know that it's my partner's mom's favorite book, and it's readable. It's very compelling, but I posted on Instagram that I was sort of reading these books to see if they were worth it, and quite a few people said that this is an ode to the sad nerdy boy more than it is about the internet and how the internet affects us. So I might just cheat and watch the movie, and then I'll be able to talk to her a little bit about it as a concept, instead of reading this almost 500-page book that is quite compelling. I imagine if I picked it up and I had nothing else to read, I would fly through it. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna like the story. And based on what I've heard from people who don't really like it, I don't think that I am gonna like it. So I'll pass that along. And then I have the last two. So I'll start with Zora Neale Hurston's Tell My Horse. This is about voodoo and life in Haiti and Jamaica. This is a book that I purchased in 2018, and it's been languishing on my shelves ever since. And the way I can tell if I'm going to read a book or if it's just going to sit there and wait for me to read it is how tired I get of the introduction and of getting into the story. I have though I start a number of books, I have quite a difficult time getting past like the first 20 pages of any book, because if I'm bored and if I'm tired and it makes me sleepy, I don't want to read. And unfortunately, within the first 10 pages, this made me literally want to go have a nap. So I don't know that this is a book I should keep. I think it's interesting, but I don't know if it's not anything I could learn from a Google search, which is kind of upsetting. And I just think that Zora Neale Hurston has such a poetic way of writing fiction, but when she's writing fact, it just is a little bit dry from the jump. Even the hook into learning about this this stuff and this history is about how dumb people are, because people think that Christmas is Jesus' birthday, but in fact it's called Christmas because the point of it is the wise men couldn't find Jesus, and so they prayed to the stars and said that Christ must reveal himself, and that happened on Christmas Day. And I mean, that's interesting, but it kind of just says that people are dumb, and fair, but I don't know. I just think I clearly I took the information in, but I was really tired and I probably would have fallen asleep if I kept reading. So all that to say, I'm really upset that this is a book that I'm going to get rid of, because I had such high hopes and it's been sitting on my shelves for so long. And I think, it could have gone to somebody all this time who actually really was interested and really enjoyed that story. So I feel a little bit bad that I've had it for so long now, just to say goodbye. But the last book, The House of the Dead by Fyodor Dostoevsky, is the book I got the furthest in, which is kind of surprising because I was worried about the font, as I said. But I got to chapter 2, which is 42 pages in. Very, very readable. So this is the story of a man who was imprisoned. He was given 10 years of hard labor in this very isolated Siberian camp. And we see him after that as part of the community, and we see that he has kind of become like a caricature of a person. He doesn't really talk to anybody unless it's to answer a question. He can't carry on a conversation. He prefers to be around children and teaching children. He doesn't like to be around adults. And then we see that he has passed away, and all of his papers kind of chronicle the life of him in this remote prison. So then we kind of see this man shuffling through the papers and putting them in order, and we read what the papers say. So I got all the way to the beginning of, the introduction sort of piece is us learning about this man in the community now, and then the first chapter is the first chapter of The House of the Dead. So it's really interesting, really readable, and just kind of, you follow along the story without really realizing that you're reading 40 pages. So I'm keeping this one. So there are 2 books of the 5 that I'm keeping. I think that at least with this one, it's gonna take until, you know, the 150 page mark, when I get a real taste of the pace of the story to see if it's gonna be for me. But for now, I'm going to keep it. So I'm really excited. Let me know if you've read either of these, what you think about them. And similarly, let me know if if I'm making a mistake with these. Like, I know that they're just not for me, but I mean, I can't really take them to a used bookstore for a while, so they'll still be here. And if I have nothing else to read before quarantine is over, perhaps I'll pick them up again. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. There will be a part 2 with 5 other books that I am on the fence about, and I'm really excited about those. I'm excited to see how I feel about them, and I'm a little bit nervous, but what can you do? I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon with another video. Bye. What are you doing?